This is iHeart Communities. I'm your host, Jade Harrell, keeping you connected to our community. Well, it's the 26th annual St. Louis International Film Festival. There will be nearly 400 new films being screened, 82 narrative features, 63 documentary features, and over 220 shorts. I am joined today to hear all about it with Cliff Froehlich, Executive Director of Cinema St. Louis and the Director of the St. Louis International Film Festival. Thank you for joining me today, Cliff.
Happy to be here.
Man, 26 years. You've been doing this since you were 4.
Well, I haven't been with the fest the entire time, although I was reporting on the festival before I became the executive director. So I've had some experience with all 26 versions of the fest.
Oh, how fantastic. Well, tell folks what has transpired over the past 26 years. What is the St. Louis International Film Festival?
Well, there's a lot of people, unfortunately, who still don't know about it, even though we've been around for 26 years. A lot of folks have this perception of film fests as being, you got to belong to the club in order to attend. Actually, we offer films for just about any taste, and it's just as simple as going to the movies. Obviously we show a lot of different kinds of films, and many of them, but we're at, normal venues that you would perhaps attend on your normal movie going, things like the Tivoli and Plaza Frontenac, but we also do things at the various universities. Washington University and Webster University. We're also at the Missouri History Museum this year, at Stage at KDHX. And also a new venue, a relatively new venue, been around for about a year now, called Dot Zac, which is down in Grand Center. So we have lots of different places you can go, and lots of different films on offer. Things ranging from out-and-out comedies to, the most intense sort of dramas, lots of international films, lots of documentaries. You noted that we have more than 200 shorts.
Wow.
The things that we play are primarily movies that you would not otherwise see on a big screen in St. Louis, if not for the existence of the festival. So sometimes we play films that are, a little obscure, things that are clearly only appeal to the sort of cinephile audience, people who are really movie obsessed. But there's a lot of great movies, really terrific films from across the globe that deserve an audience and that just simply don't get distributed here in the U.S., at least not very widely. Certainly they don't come to St. Louis. So that's our role, to sort of help St. Louisans find films that they will enjoy, but they would never otherwise encounter except for the film festival.
Absolutely. It creates the platform, the stage for that. And it's so necessary because it really widens our perspective to realize that there's much, much more to enjoy and to engage in than what we think is available through the main screen.
Yeah, it's very true. And, obviously we do have lots of choices nowadays, particularly with streaming platforms and video on demand and all sorts of other ways in which we access entertainment nowadays. But, as I said, it's remarkable just how many terrific films, particularly international films from abroad, that just never make it to our shores except for film festivals.
So how do they find their way to the film festival to be among those that are chosen to showcase?
There's a lot of ways that films find their way to us, but the principal way is through submissions. We actually have a submission process. Filmmakers pay us to actually watch their movies and consider it for the festival. This year we had about, I believe, 2,400 films submitted to us for our consideration. Many of those are shorts, most of them are, but lots of features as well. So we play a lot of our submissions, but in addition to that, we go to other festivals. We see things that we like and we invite them. In addition, we do a lot of reading. So we see films playing elsewhere, solicit them, say, hey, can we see a copy of that? And if we like it, we'll approach the filmmaker to see whether or not we can play it. And then last, we get gifted some films by studios, the kinds of films that are going to be on the award circuit, the films that get nominated for Oscars. Those are the films that we sort of get at the last minute, post the Toronto Film Festival, and we're always happy to have them. They're the films that probably most people are going to have an opportunity to see if they're patient, but by the same token, you get to be first on the block to see it if you come to the festival. So those are the various ways in which films come to us.
Yes, that's fantastic. And so then you create a schedule of sorts. Is there a number that you already knew you would limit the amount of entries or...
Well, we don't limit the amount of entries from the point of view of the people who are submitting.
Oh, sure.
It's hard to cope with as many as we get.
I bet.
But we're always happy to take a look. But yes, we have a number in mind as far as the sort of target a number as far as the number of features that we're going to play, the number of shorts programs, docs versus narratives. So we have rough figures. This is actually a slightly smaller festival than we had last year. It was our 25th anniversary, so we sort of blew out the stops, and it's kind of overwhelming to some folks. They think there's just too many movies and they can't make decisions.
It's tough, I bet. Do you have any recommendations for that?
Well, one, yes, we definitely have recommendations for that. You may have films of a particular kind that you're very interested in, and we have all sorts of ways of navigating our website in which you can sort of choose how to find a film. If you love French movies, for example, you can search for the country and find out all the French films that we have on offer. If you love a particular genre, if you like science fiction, you can click on that and find out which science fiction films we have. We have a Western this year, The Ballad of Leslie Brown. If you love comedy, you can find your way there. There are particular subjects that we focus on. So if you want a film that deals with war, with romance, with a whole range of different kinds of subjects, all you have to do is click on that subject, and it'll take you to all the films that are going to be focused on that.
Oh,
then finally, we sort of organize in a more general way in broader categories. We call those our film categories. And, for example, we have films that are focused on Asia. So if you're interested in films from Asia, across the board, everything from the subcontinent to Southeast Asia, you'll be able to find everything that we offer from that point of view. We have films that focus on music or that feature music prominently in them. You can click on our music spotlight. Films that are animated. We have an animation.
Ooh.
So there's a whole range of different categories that we group things in. And so it's pretty easy to find stuff that you might be interested in without having to sort through every single film and read the description, which I freely admit can be a bit overwhelming. I have to actually edit all of that.
Yeah, how do you go through it? Right. What's your
I know
process?
how long it takes if you're reading the whole thing.
I could imagine. But what a delightful opportunity. Are any of them local?
Oh, yeah. We actually have a category called Show Me Cinema, and that category features films that have St. Louis or Missouri connections, films that were either shot here, made here in St. Louis itself or out in the rest of the state, or that are made by people who have strong connections to St. Louis. We actually have, I believe, it's 32, if I'm not mistaken, films that have some sort of St. Louis or Missouri connection this year.
Oh, nice. Very nice. So what's the scene like here in our region?
It's actually pretty robust. I mean, we have a lot of activity.
Okay.
We have a couple of schools, of course, that have film production. The Webster University is the oldest of those schools that have a strong film production department, and then Lindenwood has increasingly moved forward. We get a lot of submissions. We do another event in the summer called the St. Louis Filmmaker Showcase, and we get a lot of student submissions through that. But then there's plenty of professional movie making going on here too. We don't get a lot of Hollywood shoots, unfortunately. The crew base here in town would love for more of that.
For sure.
But because, and this gets into areas so you probably don't want to touch on, but the
I wouldn't
film
mind
tax
getting
credit
a little,
that is offered by some states makes it very difficult. It's sort of, on some level, it's a legal bribe to bring film production to a state. And if one state is offering it, then every other state is almost compelled to do something.
Right.
Missouri, unfortunately, and there are legitimate arguments against doing these things, but by the same token, they have a much less robust tax incentive. And so there's just not as much reason for people to come here unless they really feel it's essential to shoot in Missouri.
I see.
But all that being said,
we
there's
still
plenty
are
of
showing up.
filmmakers who are locally based, or who do feel strongly about setting the film in Missouri and shooting here. So we have plenty of works that are actually shot here in St. Louis every year. A lot of them are documentaries, but also some narratives.
Yeah.
In fact, our opening night film, Bad Grandmas.
I can't wait to hear about that one. I was just going to ask you about that one next. What a treat we are in for with Bad Grandmas. Tell our folks about that.
Well, as the name implies, it's about a quartet of senior citizens, women senior citizens, who get involved in some activity that is not exactly on the up and up. Let's say they don't stumble into crime; they stumble into crime, and for all good reasons. But it stars the late Florence Henderson, so it was her final film role, and we're very excited to be having Pam Grier as our guest. Many people remember Pam Grier, obviously, from her blaxploitation days.
Yes.
She'll be here for both that film on opening night, Bad Grandmas, but we're also doing a tribute to Pam on Friday night. That's November 3rd.
Well deserved.
We're going to do an hour-long conversation with her. We will have a screening of Jackie Brown.
Oh, nice.
Which, most people consider her, absolute best role. She apparently is intending to even come back for a Q&A, although Jackie Brown's a pretty long movie, so you'll have to forgive her if she decides to skip the Q&A afterwards. But there will be a long interview, including audience questions at the beginning. We're going to do a little reel of career highlights, and we're going to present her with our Women in Film Award.
Fantastic. Oh, I'm really excited about that. I plan to be there.
Well, we encourage everybody to come, although we only have 440 seats, so get your tickets early.
Got to. Definitely got to. Where would they do that?
That's going to be showing at the Tivoli. So the Tivoli and Plaza Frontenac, which are our two main venues. We have 4 screens at those. That's you can purchase tickets in advance through the Landmark Theater site. But simplest thing to do is visit cinemastlouis.org. All of the films are listed, and whenever you click on a film, you'll see a ticket link that takes you directly to where you can purchase.
Fantastic. So much exciting there. Any of them that pop out as your favorites, or can you say that?
Oh, I can see.
Highly recommended, I should say.
There's any number of charming films that are, some of them aren't so charming. One of them is actually quite dark. Bernard and Huey is a film that I'm quite fond of. That's directed by Dan Mervish, who is actually receiving our Cinema St. Louis Award.
Oh, fantastic.
He went to Washington University, and he's gone on to a really successful directorial career, and he's also the co-founder of the Slam Dance Film Festival. So he's had a really diverse career. We're playing his latest. It's called Bernard and Huey. That's on our first weekend, Sunday, November 5. But what's really exciting, and we're happy to have Dan back. We've featured him a couple of times at the festival. But this film was written by Jules Feiffer. A lot of people might remember, he was a great award-winning, Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist. But from a film point of view, he's been a brilliant screenwriter, including Mike Nichols' Carnal Knowledge. Bernard and Huey is kind of a sort of it's not a sequel to, but it's sort of a spiritual successor to Carnal Knowledge. So a very dark comedy about men's relationships with women. So that's a film that I definitely would recommend. I think it's really quite extraordinary. We have so many great movies, however. I should mention a film that is actually played a little bit in St. Louis already, but we're excited to be offering a free screening of a documentary shot right here in St. Louis called For Akeem.
Ooh.
I don't know if you've encountered it playing at 24/1 Cinemas, but we're going to be doing a free screening of that with all the filmmakers here, including the young woman who is at the center of it, the subject of the film, and it deals with her sort of troubled coming of age. She, got into some various problems in her her regular school, was on the verge of being both kicked out and also potentially entering the criminal justice system. So she goes to this alternative school founded by Judge Jimmy Edwards, and it tells her story over a couple of years and the difficulties she runs into as a young African American teen growing up in North St. Louis, and it's set against sort of the backdrop of Ferguson. Ferguson was unfolding during the time this film was being shot. That's not the focus of the film, but it's certainly an element that's at play. That's right. This film is really quite extraordinary, I think. So that's on our final weekend. We're going to be showing that on Saturday, November 11th at the Missouri History Museum. And again, it's entirely free.
Absolutely. Well, this is terrific, Cliff. Can you send out the invitation for our audience to get connected and enjoy this year's 26th superb International Film Festival?
Yes, absolutely. We invite everyone to participate. There's 61 free programs, so nobody should say, "Oh, I just can't afford it."
Right.
We have lots of opportunities for people to see films who just want to, come in, sample the wares without paying a thing. We'd love to have them come to others too. But the easiest way to find out everything you need to know is on cinemastlouis.org, or you can just search on Google or whatever search engine you use for St. Louis Film Festival or St. Louis International Film Festival, and you're going to find all the information you need.
Well, we want to keep it as simple as possible. Go on, look ahead in advance, or hey, just step out there and pick one and go check it out, do something different, and have a tremendous experience either way. This is really exciting. Thank you for keeping this going and keeping our region vibrant with this film festival. I thank you for that.
Well, thank you for allowing me to chat a little bit about it.
Well, if the Lord wills it that I'm here, you got a partner in that mission.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Certainly. Cliff Froehlich, Executive Director of Cinema St. Louis and the Director of the St. Louis International Film Festival. Thank you so very much. cinemastlouis.org for more info.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. All right, that's it for this week. If you have questions or comments or have something you'd like to include in the community calendar, you can leave a message on our message box at 314-333-8369, 314-333-8369. And for more information about our show or any of our guests, you can visit us online and listen to the podcast at Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com. And search Community Connection with Jade Harrell. You all be blessed, do blessed, and take care.